behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. Today we have the company of Marisa Ventura in this space that has been called the Cathar Prophecy. Will it be fulfilled in 2021? Marisa Ventura is a licensed in political science. She is a published author, speaker, and researcher. Let's not delay this any further and let's welcome Marisa Ventura. Marisa, again, welcome to Mindalia. How are you doing today?
Hi, Mirna, how are you? Well, as usual, it's my pleasure to be here today with Mindalia, where I believe it is my house, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to continue talking about the Cathars, about Mary Magdalene, and the beautiful legacy that they developed for all of us. So it's really my pleasure to be here today with you and all the audience that is here.
It is also our pleasure, Marisa. Thank you for accepting the invitation of doing this in a different language that is not ours. We are thrilled to have you. We are going to be sharing something that we shared previously in Spanish. We don't want to keep that for ourselves. We want to do the effort and cross and have the chance to just say it in a different language and maybe in a couple more. Why not, right?
Of course. You know, first of all, I would like to apologize because, as you already mentioned, it's not my mother tongue. If not, the English is a second language.
Ours.
But I will try to, and I will try to do my best because, as you mentioned, it's important to put in the universe this prophecy and the message that this prophecy has for us.
It is a very interesting, important, and relevant prophecy, especially these days. We truly believe that. And let's start by, it is called the Cathar Prophecy. So why not start asking you, you are the researcher and you are the expert on the field, who were the Cathars? Is there a connection to some particular character that we are very fond of?
Yes, I agree. Okay, let me tell you that much has been written and speculated about the Cathars. And let me tell you that the Cathars were really a fascinating and enigmatic spiritual group in medieval times. They live in the south of France. Between 11th and 12th centuries, they live in the area or the region that it's called Languedoc or Occitania. It's a beautiful region in the south of France. And as we know, they were the descendant of this character that you already mentioned, that it's Mary Magdalene. They were really the descendant of the teachings that Mary Magdalene brought to this region in the south of France, the original teachings of Jesus Christ. I want to start also telling you that the word Cathars came from the Greek katharoi. And katharoi means pure. You know that when we say that we can do catharsis, also came from the Cathar people. And to make this catharsis is to make a purification. They were called the pures, but they called themselves just good women and good men, because they also call themselves simply Christians in order to differentiate from the Catholic Church, because they have, we will see, a different belief or a different put in practice of this spirituality. We know that according to the tradition, Mary Magdalene arrives to the shores of Marseille in the south of France, more in a tiny town that is called Saint-Marie-de-la-Mer after Jesus' resurrection. And from here is where she started her ministry and where she spread all these original teachings of Jesus. The Cathar were a community of people, very, very pacific. They were kind people, serene. They were a generous group of people. And, you know, they had a lot of spiritual and material prosperity. And why is that? Well, because, first of all, because they shared their belongings, they help the poor, they feed the people in need. They had really a big heart. They were a very, very pacific. And I want to emphasize that because they really were a very nice people. They were respectful. They live in community with nature. They practice the meditation. they were mostly vegan because they respect all the life on earth. So they have a different mind for that time. They were really a society that we can consider that they were advanced because they took care of the environment, they took care of the planet, they make all their meditations outside in contact with nature. They were really a different kind of people. And they have something special that bother and challenge the church. And what was that? Was that the Cathars believed that the church was not necessary to be in contact with God. They insisted in a one-on-one connection, in a mystical experience, and they say, we do not need the church. If we want to be in contact with God, we direct talk to them. And imagine at that time, was difficult to have this speech and this spirit. But the Cathars added more and more followers every single day, and the church started really feeling very, very challenged about the Cathars because this way of life, the way of living they had, and the church in this part of the south of France didn't have any kind of influence. You know, something that it's nice also to mention, because the life of the Cathar, in some point when the church decided, that I will tell you later, this bloody crusade, they live in the same period that live the troubadours. They were song writers, singers, the Kabbalists, the mystic, the Jewish mystics, Muslims. In the south of France, the church didn't have any kind of influence because the south of France has many, many meeting points with Byzantium. And they live in environment that were extremely peaceful between all different religions or spiritual influences. So this is like to understand a little bit who were these people. They were very pacific. They believe and continue the legacy that Mary Magdalene brought to the south of France. And really the church saw its authority very questioned in this area and immediately listed them as a heresy. So was difficult at that time.
It looks like a very difficult, interesting time, just to say a word. And for what I understand, also they embodied the teachings of Jesus himself, or the teachings of a very good-natured spirituality. It wasn't only talking, they were actually living their purposes. The church systematically erased them because they represented, of course, huge, a competitor.
Yes.
And I have even heard that sometimes their own executioners refused to kill them because they said, like, I can't have anything against them. And that brings me to my next question, Marisa. I want to ask you about what happened to them and why.
Yeah. Well, it's as you already mentioned, many, many people, including the people that should bring them to the fire, to the big bonfire, start feeling comfortable listening to them. And you know, there are chronicles and stories of this period that the people that when they had to express themselves before go to the fire, they said, we never heard most beautiful people with these more beautiful feelings and more Christians than the Cathar. And there is something important and something that it's difficult for me to understand. You know what? The Church of Rome cataloged them as the Jewish movement in the Languedoc. They were not Jewish. However, they followed the teaching of a Jewish woman that was Mary Magdalene, and also Jesus Christ. So what happened with the Cathars, with this amazing group of people? Well, in the year 1209, the Pope Innocent III, together with the French king Philip IV, called the Beautiful, he didn't have nothing about beautiful, but they launched a really cruel and blood crusade against the Cathar. And you know which day they launched the crusade? The 22nd of July, the day of the festivity of Mary Magdalene. This is the first day that the church started killing the Cathars. So it was something horrible, and really the unstoppable mechanism of the Inquisition makes them disappear. So finally, in the year 1244, they had one of the biggest fortress, that is the fortress of Montsegur, was the main place, this big fortress. Well, this was the last fortress that the last Cathars were killed. They were, of course, thrown into the fire, but the night previous to this big bonfire, some families managed to escape. And they escape, keeping with them documents, rituals, but also a prophecy that was written in the year 1244. So these people that managed to escape went to live to the area that today we know as Catalonia or the Kingdom of Aragon. So despite that the movement of the Catharism in appearance disappear, we know that in a hidden way they continue being active. And in the year finally 1321, the last Cathar, Guillaume of Belibaste, he was betrayed. A French spy told them that old Cathar lady was about to die, and that he has to go back to the south of France to give to this woman the consolamentum. And of course, Guillaume accepted to go to give this last prayer to this Cathar woman. But this was a lie. He was betrayed when he arrived to the town in the south of France. He was captured, and he was also burnt in a stick. In the moment previous that he was burned in the stick, he launched a prophecy. And he said, 700 years from now, the laurel will turn green again, and we, the Cathar, will be back on earth. And here in this phrase, we have something important. Why he spoke about the laurel will turn green again. The laurel has a symbolic meaning, means sacred love, and also means victory, triumph, superiority. Also, we know that the Roman emperors used to wear crowns with laurel, representing superiority or victory. And this was the phrase that he shouted from the fire. And here is something that, understanding this, he said, well, 700 years from now, Guillaume of Belibaste said, this was the year 1321. These 700 years will be next year, the year 2021, where the prophecy that this family that managed to escape kept with them will be fulfilled. So it means that next year, we hopefully will see that this prophecy could be fulfilled.
Marisa, it's super interesting, and we've been talking about things that are very serious, very dark, very sad, and it's a lot of tragedy, but finally
Yes.
we get to come to this point in which you are going to tell us what is the Cathar Church, what is
Yes.
supposed to be happening in 2021, why is it so important, because this is something that's going to warm many hearts. What is expected? What happens if the Cathar Church resurfaces the earth? And what is the Cathar Church even? Like, how is it?
Well,
how do I become a member of it?
Oh, great question. You could be a member, no doubt. Well, what the prophecy said is that the Church of Love, I will explain now, that the Church of Love will proclaim again in the year 2021. And what is this Church of Love? Church not understood in the meaning that we today can give to the church, because church, the word church, came from the Greek word ecclesia. In Spanish, we call iglesia. Well, ecclesia means community. So this church of love, what offers to us is to live in community, in common unity. And they have some rules that we have to respect. And, you know, I have here the prophecy. The prophecy is really long, but I took those messages that I know that are more powerful and more, I don't know, more touching. Yeah, this is the word. Thanks so much. More touching. And I have written in case I forget some word, because just in case I want to say all the things as should be said. So the Church of Love, it has no membership. All those who belongs know they belong. So it's something that you feel. The Church of Love seeks not to teach, but to be, and by being, enrich. Its members will recognize through their eyes of their being and just for the fraternal embrace. This is the way that the people that belong to the Church of Love will be recognize each other. There is no walk of life or nationality that could be a barrier to be part of the Church of Love. The Church of Love salutes all those who open the way but pay the price. And let me tell you that the Cathars pay the price. Also Jesus Christ paid the price. Also Mary Magdalene, and also the rest of the apostles. All they open the way for us, but they pay the price. It has no rewards. This church has no rewards, nor here, either here or hereafter. Just offer the ineffable joy of being and loving. They recognize that the time has come, that the supreme transmutation, the last alchemical act, the conscious change of the ego into a voluntary return to the whole, that the moment is now, that we have to take care of our neighbor, our planet, and the environment. Think that in the year 1244, talk about the take care of the environment, take care of the neighbor, take care of the community, the planet. It's something unbelievable. And they said, this Church of Love has no secrets, no initiations, and no arcanum. Just the true understanding of the power of love. And if we want that the world change, it will change just if we change ourselves first. All those that belong to the Church of Love know that belong. So it means that any person can belong to the Church of Love. What we need to understand is the supremacy of love, that every single thing that we can do, if we put love in every single thing that we do in our daily life, things will be different and we will have a better world. We will be better with our neighbor, with our family, in our work, in our daily basis. So really, I can't believe that this message was written, I don't know, almost 1,000 years before, because it's for the current moment of the humanity, with all the things that are happening to us as humanity. So it's like going back to the basics. It's like that we need to start paying attention to what happens to the other, to the neighbor, to my family, to my colleague, and taking care of me, I will be taking care of the rest of the people. So because of that, I love this prophecy, because it's a prophecy of love, because makes all sense and relationship to Jesus Christ, to really these early teachings, the pure teachings of Jesus. Then we learn other things after the Concilium of Nicaea and everything that we have, the canonical gospel, and I respect, of course, all the way of thinking and the beliefs of everybody. But I think that these are pure messages of love. Maybe it's not simple to put in practice this every single day, but if we start for us as individual, I think that we can accomplish this prophecy.
We are talking about the Cathars as a group of people that they saved themselves and they lived a life according to the very primordial teachings of a spiritual leader that 20,000 years still kind of current, and they lived that not according to set teachings from a political hierarchy, but the actual living of the message. Maybe at that point, humans were not in a level of consciousness that would greet that with or welcome such a lifestyle. Do you think, Marisa, that probably now we could be ready to be seeing the Church of Love actually establishing within our hearts?
I hope so. I hope so. In my personal life, I tried every day to put in practice these beautiful messages. I really try to be conscious, because this is a key. The word of being conscious, it's key, because if we do not awake, and if we really do not decide that we want to have a better world, and if we do not understand that having a better world means that I have to make previous and intimate work with myself, with my inner self, will be very difficult. I really think that this situation that we are facing during all this month, that it's something unexpected, because nobody expected to be locked down like Leonor the Aquitania 9 years in a tower, or Saint Barbara, or Rapunzel, I don't know. Because sometimes I feel, because I'm in Argentina and I'm still on quarantine since March 15th, and I still will have still 10 days. Really, I think that it's something that we need to face, to go through it. And I think that we need to start paying attention of our feelings, and how we manage all these things that are happening, that are not easy. But I hope that the humanity will change, that we will be more aware of our that we are part of a society, and that we need to take care of many aspects that we are not taking care. So I think that the prophecy will be fulfilled. If you ask me, Marisa, you think that will be fulfilled next year? Well, I don't know. I think that many people will feel the call. I know that. Because, when we have done this prophecy in Spanish, the answer of the people was amazing. I was happily surprised with what we put in the universe for the people, because many people start writing to me, "Oh, Marisa, I feel that I am Cathar." And I say, of course, anybody could be Cathar. There is no barrier to be, because being Cathar is a lifestyle, is a style of behave, is a style of the music you are listening, and how is the way you feed your alimentation. Is not a religious to be Cathar. They do not have dogma. If not, it's something that you feel, that should be is some energy. And if you feel in touch with this energy, you are living the Church of Love.
It is beautiful, and I've also heard that the Cathars, when they were wiping them out from Europe, they would get them because they would find someone that's very good, and they would search in their pockets, and if there were breads like crumbs, they would know it was a Cathar, because they would be always sharing whatever they had. bread in the pocket so they could
Yes.
share it with poor people. From that perspective, maybe we could start seeing that by our own commitment towards helping others. And it's something that calls my attention. Like, you talk about kindness, and kindness even in times of desperation, in times of you don't know what's gonna happen next. Because being kind with whomever is kind, it's pretty easy, right? You're just being kind back. You're just bouncing back from whatever was proposed. But being kind even when you are being chased, like the Cathars, even when you are being exterminated, even when you are about to be burnt at a stake, and you are still having that vibration, as you said before, of love and kindness. It is possible in these times, and it's going to happen. At least we agree in the fact that that's what we want to see, and why not bet on it, right?
Yes.
I also wanted to ask you about because this is something that many people may ignore. You mentioned a little bit earlier about where the teachings, or where the ideology they had, where was it coming from? Who was it related to? You mentioned earlier, but I would love to hear a little bit more about it.
Okay. Well, we know that when Jesus died, and after the resurrection, all the apostles should left their country, should fled, because their life were at risk. So Mary Magdalene, she went not alone, because she went to the south of France with a group of people, a group with Lazaro and Martha, their brothers, with other people. She arrives to the shores in the south of France. And she brought with her all the true teachings of Jesus. We know that Jesus taught her many other teachings in secrets. And this is written in apocryphal text. That apocryphal means hidden. There we know that Mary Magdalene was a woman, that she was really very well formed. She came from a rich family. She could read Latin. She knew the Psalms, and she were really trained by Jesus in self-knowledge, in how to develop the intuition, how to practice meditation, to be in touch with God. And we know that she was, and according to the tradition, the veneration of Mary Magdalene in the south of France is so big and is very vivid. Anybody that goes to the south of France can see the legacy that she led in this area. So she left a rich legacy, all the teaching of Jesus, teachings of love, teachings of compassion. She was a strong woman, a very brave heart, because imagine to have to leave your country, leave your family, go to a country where you do not speak the language, where you have to start from nothing, from zero. And she had the courage, and she has a mission. For me, Mary Magdalene is what I call a sacred alchemist. And why? Because she changed, or she turned pain in love, pain in light, because she brought to the south of France all the light of Jesus, all that beautiful teachings in which Jesus taught us to be inclusive, something that in these times we know that being inclusive for many people is still difficult. And we have to work with this, because we are in a new era, absolutely. And Mary Magdalene brought to the south of France all this teaching that the Cathar took them and start applying, putting in practice these amazing teachings that she brought there, because she was really very well prepared. And we know that the rest of the apostles, they was not they didn't have much, they were not educated, but she came from a very rich family. So she was a very also prominent disciple of Jesus, and Jesus gave her a lot of importance. And we know that she was the apostle of the apostle, as now is she, well, since so many years from now, recognized. And there is something, as you are giving me the opportunity, that I always want to say to everybody, that when you ask to anybody who was Mary Magdalene, the first answer you will hear is that, oh yeah, she is the prostitute, the repentant, the penitent. Well, I would like to tell that she was nothing about that. There is no gospel that mentioned her as a prostitute. This was something that was in a homily of the Pope Gregory called Magno in the year 597, where he said that Mary Magdalene was this prostitute, and he put under the name of Mary Magdalene other two women, Mary of Bethany and the sinner that washed the feet of Jesus Christ with her tears, and then she cleaned it with her hair. And he decided that these three women were Mary Magdalene. From that moment, the name of prostitute was on Mary Magdalene, but she was not. I think that mostly all the people today know that she was never a prostitute. She was a strong woman, and also she was in some way the head of the church, because from the moment that she saw Jesus Christ resurrected, she was the first witness. During the time she saw Jesus, till the moment she went and tell the news to the rest of the apostles, she was the only that had with herself the revelation, the message. So she was the head of the church, of this church of love, really. And she has a strong veneration during many, many centuries, till they decided that she was too much veneration for Mary Magdalene. So we need to put her on her knees and tell that she was a prostitute, a repentant, and blah, 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 blah. And so the truth is that the Cathar know the story, the real story about this amazing woman, the legacy, the teachings, and everything she brought to the Languedoc. And because of that, all these teachings of the Church of Love are the teachings of Jesus of Mary Magdalene. This church is the church of the Sacred Companion, of the strong love of a man, of a woman, that were this couple, this beautiful and illuminated couple of Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
Sounds kind of convenient to shadow a little bit the image that some people may be having about a woman in such a time, right? We are going to start receiving questions from the people that are watching us. We are doing this simultaneously via YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, Vong, and VK Live. So if you feel like you want to ask any questions, you are more than welcome, because we have an expert, a researcher. Marisa has dedicated years of research into this topic. We can also, or we want to also let you know that you can reach all our content through our website, www.mindalia.com, and you can also listen in Mindalia Radio, 24 hours of conscious knowledge. Now, we're going to start with Mashenka Jacovella. She is writing us through Facebook. She says in both languages, la Iglesia del Amor es la estructura que no está sujeta a la muerte. The Church of Love is a structure beyond death. That's the change, because we have to understand what means love in order to change. What can we say to Mashenka in regards to that?
First of all, I will send a big, big kiss to Mashenka. She is an amazing woman. She is a Cathar one. She's lovely, and I absolutely agree with her. If we understand the supremacy of love, this great idea or this great concept of this church of love, it's very simple, because this church, as she already mentioned, of love has no death. We cannot think about death, because we also, I think I didn't say that Cathar believes in resurrection. And they believe in life, after death. And because of that, also, Belibaste said we will be back on earth again. And the other day, I also said, despite that the prophecy will be fulfilled in 2021, we, the Cathar, we are already here. We are already in this planet. We are plenty. I think we are millions Cathars that we are already around the planet, because I can tell you that people from all over the world wrote to me telling, Marisa, I felt the connection. I feel that I'm Cathar. Every single word you mention about that we will recognize each other through their eyes, that has no membership, who belongs, know that belong. So people feel that this is something very touching and that they belong, because we don't need any kind of arcanum, secret initiations, or membership. Nothing. You just feel the energy, connect with them. And I tell you, the Cathar Country, it's beautiful. The environment is full of nature. The weather, it's, I don't know, always is sunny. It's the energy. Well, it's one of the most important places in the world with strong and powerful energy. And I always said that the Cathar Country always gives the welcome when their children go back home. And go back to the Cathar Country is also go inside and start feeling the Catharisms within us.
I think I'm falling in love with the idea of the Cathar people never actually leaving, but just being kind of hiding until a more welcoming world that would allow, an actual lifestyle like the lifestyle that them or us like to live.
I agree. Yes,
Marisa,
I agree.
Another question. Where do you get all that knowledge? We do know that some of that knowledge is just intuitive, but it's not only intuitive. You have dedicated your life to research. And why don't you tell us a little bit about it before we leave?
Yeah, well, no, it is not intuitive, despite I had some experience in the Cathar Country. I had done research during at least the last 20 years. I read a lot and I read everything. I read materials which I feel that I agree with, and others that really, for me, are very challenged. And sometimes I say, no, I don't want to read this. I don't agree. But
So
I make the effort.
Let me interrupt you, because this is
Yeah.
something important that you're saying. You are not only reading the material that pleases you, but you also
No.
dare to go to material that may be challenging, because you're open to change your mind at any point, and that's super important when it comes to research, right?
Yes, of course. Because of that, I read everything. There are people that time to time, when they listen to me or they see some of our interviews, that they say, Marisa, you should go to read the Bible. And I say, okay, I read the Bible, but I read many more other things, and I read everything. Those which I agree with, and other that give me headache, I can tell you. But there are many, many serious researchers in which are my pillars. And I, of course, I can recommend those people that they have a life dedicating to make research about this topic. Of course, I went to the Cathar Country many times. I make my research, but I read a lot.
Mr. Mario is asking via YouTube if there are actually Cathars in Catalonia, and if there are still, or if there were at any point Cathars in Catalonia.
Yes, there is Cathars in Catalonia. In fact, there is a group of Cathars. And it's an active group. They are in Barcelona. There is other group in Valencia. And I was really very surprised to discover the influence of the Catharism in Catalonia, particularly in a way that is called La Ruta del Sister, the sister route. That the sister is a medieval order that was born in the south of France, but they have a lot of presence. In fact, Mary Magdalene has an amazing presence in Catalonia, and I really was very surprised, and I started making my research in that area.
Thank you, Marisa. Let's go with the next question. And I think this is going to be probably the last question for today because time has run out of our hands. Edna, Purple Music, she is asking via YouTube, did Mother Mary ever travel to the south of France with Mary Magdalene to keep spreading the knowledge with others? Thank you.
Well, this is a line of oral tradition. What is said is that after the resurrection of Jesus, the Mother Mary, she died, and that Mary Magdalene carried with her the body of the Virgin Mary. Really, there is no evidence if this was like that, because other lines of investigation said that the Mother Mary died in India. In fact, there is a tomb that is in a cemetery that is considered to belong to Mother Mary. We really do not know. But it's a way of investigation, a line of investigation about where the body of the Mother Mary is.
Well, Marisa, thank you. Let me tell you about who was with us today. We were being seen from Argentina, Spain, United States, Colombia, among other countries, and we were issuing this connection via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, VK, and Vonk Live. Before we leave, we would like to give you a moment for you to say goodbye with beautiful words from your heart that I know you have many.
Okay, I would like to say thank you to everybody that was on the other side listening to us. And if you feel the call and you feel that you belong, continue investigating or continue being in touch with this amazing energy and this beautiful message of the Cathar people, because there is a lot of material that people can read that will fulfill your heart. You will be happy. And this is something that has to help us for our daily basis, because really are simple rules that we can put in practice. So if you felt that something of what I have said and we were talking with Mirna touch your heart, help me, help Mary Magdalene and the Cathars, and please spread this message with the people that is or are around you. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you again, Marisa. There is still a lot more to be said, and I really wish that you can join us again pretty much and pretty soon. Before leaving, we just want to remind everybody watching that Mindalia.com is an international non-profit organization and that you can collaborate with us with very simple things. You can leave a like in our content. You can share this content also with someone that you know that might benefit of what we've been discussing here today. You can leave us a positive comment, and you can subscribe to our channel or any of our platforms. And if you feel like, you can also go to our website and donate. It is www.mindalia.com. When you do that, you're helping us reach as much people in the planet as possible, and you're also helping us keep collaborating and issuing these spaces of connection like the one we had today with Marisa Ventura. Again, thank you Marisa, and we are saying goodbye by now until a very, very, very soon next Mindalia live streaming. See you again soon. Bye.